Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Archana Kaushik from Department of Social Work, University of Delhi. Today we are going to learn about models of community engagement from the paper Human Resource Development through Community Engagement. After completing this module, the students are able to understand various models of community organization, identify distinctive features and applicability of models of community organization, gain insight into specific usage of the frameworks provided by the models in understanding communities' needs and developing interventions. Community organization has been defined as a process by which a community identifies its needs or objectives, develops the confidence and will to work at these needs or objectives, finds the resources external and internal to deal with these needs and objectives, takes action in respect of them, and in doing so extends and develops cooperative and collaborative attitudes and practices in the community. Let us now look at various models of community organization. First of all, what is a model? Model is a framework that gives insight to understand social realities and vision to plan goals and interventions. A model helps in better understanding of problems, facilitating discussion, reflection, integrating theory into practice, designing interventions, identifying roles, tasks and techniques. Now we come to various models. Jack Rothman has given this model that is called core modes, and first core mode is locality development, next is social planning or policy, and next is social action. Let us take them one by one. Mode A is locality development. It is based on the principle of helping people to help themselves. Focuses on building communities' competency to solve problems on self-help basis and develop and maintain harmonious interrelationships among different ethnic and social class. Involving participation in community actions by a wide range of people, usage of democratic practices, voluntary cooperation, self-help and development of leadership skills are the key theme areas. Mode B, social planning or policy. Based on a rational, deliberately planned technical process of problem solving, it is task driven, focuses on solving social problems like health, education, housing, etc. through technical and scientific processes of planning and implementation of services. Active participation of the community is not a core ingredient. Agencies working in the community, government or NGOs undertake planning, implementation and evaluation of services. Mode C, social action. This model focuses on the redistribution of power and resources and rightful participation of marginalized social groups into decision making power. It rests on the values of social justice and human rights. It aims to empower the poor and oppressed by coming in conflict with the rich oppressors who control resources and power. Confrontational tactics like demonstrations, strikes, sit-ins, marches, boycotts and other disruptive or attention-seeking acts are employed. Community organizer may act as an advocate, activist, agitator, broker or negotiator. Models or approaches as given by Siddiqui. There are 4 models given: neighborhood development model, system change model, structural change model, intercommunity model. Neighborhood development model. Based on the presumption that people living in a community or neighborhood have an inherent capacity to meet their needs and solve their problems through their own initiatives and resources. People's participation is institutionalized through the development of a self-sustaining indigenous organization within the community. Role of a worker is to unleash inherent collaborative energies within the community rather than as a service provider. It does not entail linkage of micro-macro realities and is confined to a small geographical area only. System change model. It aims at developing strategies to either restructure or modify the system. It views community from social systems perspective, composed of various subsystems such as education, health, housing, etc. These sub-communities are interdependent, which can become dysfunctional due to a variety of reasons. It aims to rectify these dysfunctions. Main tasks are understanding deficiencies in the system, mobilizing people's participation and seeking outside support to translate the plan into concrete action, and making alliances and partnerships with different stakeholders. Structural change model. It links the macro level policies with micro level issues. It visualizes the community as a small unit which is analogous to a cell within a larger body of society, based on the assumption that the relationship between different sections of the population is structured formally, like through constitution, law, policies, or informally cultural norms, influences the social rights of individuals. It determines the relationships of the state vis-a-vis individuals or communities, as also the intra-community and inter-community relationships. Community worker analyzes the linkage between macro level policies and micro level realities and appraises its impact to radically change the macro structures. Inter-community model. It has wider scope of intervention. There may be certain problems or needs in the community which may not be tackled within the community using its resources. In such situations, people from different communities may have to collaborate and work together. It calls for an inter-community approach. Its goal is to meet local needs rather than change the system or structure. Community organization approaches as given by M.G. Ross. There are three main approaches given: general content approach, specific content approach, and process approach. Community organization approaches as given by M.G. Ross. First one is general content approach, and it focuses on planning and organizing services needed by the community in general. It either works for strengthening of existing services or initiating new ones. And next is specific content approach. It aims at specific issues and needs based on intervention planned and executed by individual organization or the community itself. Third one is process approach, that emphasizes the process by which communities' capacity to build, to work in a collaborative and coordinated manner so as to institutionalize people's participation. Content or activity taken up is secondary. Community organizer adheres to self-determination of the community, its indigenous plans, people's willingness to change, and working at community's pace. There are other classifications of models of community organization as given by Peter Driver, Robert Fisher, Sol Alinsky, Hannah Robinson, and Gandhiji. Let us take them one by one. Peter Driver in 1996 has given community empowerment strategies. First is community organizing. There it focuses on the political domain. It entails mobilizing people to raise their voices to reach to decision makers in order to combat common problems that affect their lives and communities. Second is community based development. Here the emphasis is on economic life, and effort of community work is directed to improve community's financial condition or development of physical infrastructure that may be held up for want of sufficient funds. Community based service provision is the next one. It involves neighborhood level efforts to deliver social services, a direction with social emphasis. For instance, towards building human capital, interventions of the community worker may be directed towards initiating child protection services to curb child abuse and promote child well-being and development. Peter Driver has given community empowerment strategies in terms of economy, social services and voice. Robert Fisher has given dominant approaches to neighborhood organizing. The first is social work approach. It is consensual and journalistic in nature. The society is viewed as a social organism and efforts are made to develop a sense of belongingness and interdependence in the community. Community is helped to identify its problems and facilitates in procuring requisite resources by lobbying with those in power and meeting the needs of the community or neighborhood. Second model given is the political activist approach. It aims at redistribution of power and resources. Its ultimate goal is elimination of social, economic and political disparities based on advocacy, conflict and negotiation, and is used by mass-based organizations. The problem of community or neighborhood is seen in the context of lack of adequate political power, and therefore efforts of community organizer are geared towards coming in conflict with the powerful elite and ruling groups. The third model is neighborhood maintenance approach. Neighborhood civic associations are formed to take up issues related to pressing civic matters and problems like sewage, water supply, increased crime, etc. Peer group pressure, administrative advocacy, etc. are the methods used, but sometimes it takes form of political activism, militant confrontation, etc. Aims to defend the community against change and perceived threats to existing resources. Saul Alinsky has provided the approaches to organizing. The first one is social mobilization tradition. It involves mobilizing large number of people to raise their voice against unjust practices. It is based on the assumption that such pressure will make those in power comply with the demands that are made. Emphasis is on mobilizing efforts, that is contacting people and encouraging them to become socially and politically active, to petition vigorously, protest, to demonstrate their disagreement and not to fear directly the action and confrontation. Next is social production tradition. In this tradition, the strategic goal is to acquire services, material goods and resources for the people in need. Community organizer works with those in power to negotiate and bargain in favor of the target groups with the aim of redistribution of resources and benefits. People are encouraged to participate in the political system and to manage relationships with the agencies that provide services. Hanna and Robinson in 1994 have provided approaches to community engagement. First is traditional politics. It involves rational problem solving through negotiating and with elite where income, resources and status gaps remain. Next model, direct action community organization. It entails mass-based organizing, sometimes using confrontation. It is power oriented and aims to empower non-elites to negotiate with the elites for a share in power. Third model, transformative social change. It emphasizes on self-directed learning and fully collective approach to group awareness, decision making and social action, which liberates participants from mindset of dependency and oppression. Based on the model of conscientization by Ferrari, who recommended liberating education as an essential precondition and component of community change. Gandhian approach or model of community organization. In this, community is taken as a basic unit which is a village. Values cherished are mutual cooperation and common sharing. Strategies of rural reconstruction are based on village Swaraj and Swadeshi movement. Basic principles employed are trusteeship, Swadeshi, full employment, bread labor, self-sufficiency, decentralization, equality, Nai Talim, etc. Emphasis is on truth and non-violence in every aspect of human life. No fixed pattern of intervention has been proposed in Gandhian model, and it is based on specific needs and challenges of individual village community. Let us now summarize what we have studied in this module. Several educators and practitioners of social work profession have postulated various types of models of community organization. Models provided by Rothman, Siddiqui, Ross, Driver, Fisher, Elinsky, Hanna and Robinson and Gandhiji are described. These models highlight three basic practice frameworks. First is the task oriented, where focus is on providing deficit civic services or strengthening the existing ones. Second one stresses on people's participation and collaboration to solve their community's problems through shared action and local leadership. And the third type focuses on redistribution of power and resources so as to uplift the empowered marginalized groups. Gandhiji's model was different based on trusteeship, self-governance and self-reliance, which is considered the idealistic one. Thank you.